Okay, so we're ready to continue. The roast is still resting. The root vegetables are in the oven, cooking down, baking, and getting ready to be put into a casserole. It's not really a casserole. I'm getting ready to show you what happens. Now, with all the yeast and the sugar, the eggs, oil, salt, and flour, all of that right now is what's in this bowl that we had made earlier. So it's called proofed. In other words, this yeast is real. Okay? It usually works, especially when you get the kind of yeast that I get. It almost always works. Fleischmann's is my favorite yeast. So this particular spoon, it's a paddle. It's not a spoon. It's a wooden paddle. It's actually used to make roux. Roux is made with oil and flour, but if you're not sure how to make it, always use a paddle. It's a whole lot easier than anything else. It'll splatter. You don't want splatter. So all we're going to do to turn this into bread dough, already bread base, is we are going to add the flour. Now, I use unbleached flour, and I've used it for years. On occasion, I'll use flour that's been bleached only because I cannot get it in the city or state that I happen to be in. But this flour is unbleached, and it's going to take quite a bit. Okay? And you're going to see what happens. It's a really interesting thing that happens with this bread. This is the second way that it's going to become its own self, become one with itself. So this right here is what's going to turn it into dough, but this dough still needs to rise, so there's still time in between this and whatever else it is that I still need to complete for tonight's dinner. I've already done a couple of things. Since this particular bread is going to be 3 different breads, I already cut the garlic and have it resting in the olive oil. This is going to be sauteed up until the garlic is a little bit crispy brown. That is going to be rolled into this bread with sea salt and cracked pepper. Not very much pepper and not too much sea salt, but it's one of the favorites around here is the garlic bread. So it's it's actually inside the bread with the olive oil. So if you see what's happening, it's starting to get a little firmer. Now this is not to the point where we're going to be kneading it. Okay, the kneading is the next process, and that's going to come after this step has risen. Okay, but I want to show you how to handle this. It's really simple. Making bread is simple. People always ask, what kind of bread maker I use. 57-year-old hands, baby. That's it. No recipe. And the bread base that I make, you can adjust it. You can do whatever you want. You can turn it into wheat bread by adding an extra egg and half of the flour to be whole wheat. Solid whole wheat bread is really difficult for me to work with, so I've never successfully done that. But I do make whole wheat bread, and I use brown sugar as opposed to standard sugar. I also add a little bit more sugar because I think whole wheat bread, there's slight more sweetness. Okay, it doesn't take as much flour as you think because this is going to double, sometimes triple in size. Again, it depends on how much yeast you used. For this, I used 2 packages. Some people use less yeast. I tend to use more because I tend to make a lot of loaves of bread at a time. So as you've always seen, I always pull out 3 loaves of bread from the oven. And pretty much every speakeasy that I make fresh bread, which is about every other time, there's almost no bread left. So I'm getting ready to pull off my rings because now it gets interesting. Okay? Now again, this is not the kneading process. All I'm trying to do is dry out the dough enough to where all it's going to do is rise and nothing but. But I need to incorporate all of this flour into the moisture so that it holds itself. Okay, it doesn't need to be bone dry, but it does need to be completely mixed in. So I'm just going to put all the flour into it. And I can already feel it. It's going to grab. Okay, kneading is a simple thing. It doesn't take a lot of energy. Just takes a little bit of love. And it's nothing. You can go through a whole busy day. You can make food all day long. You can do laundry because you have break times in between the bread process. So again, it's a 3-step process. Now, this right here is fully incorporated. Now, I could in fact add a little bit more flour to dry it out. So Ryan, if you would train me, I'll take the phone. There we go. And now I'll let Ryan go get me more flour. Okay, we keep the flour in one of the cabinets over here. Hi, Katie. I'm actually having a pretty good day today. It's nice. Here you go, Ryan. more. It doesn't need to be quite this wet. It would be fine, but I like my breads really light and fluffy. If you don't add enough flour to this step, and again, I don't really measure anything, but if you don't add enough flour to this step, what happens is the bread itself has a lot of holes in it when it's baking. So I like to have it so that it's a little more even and a little bit more of a solid and yet still very light and airy bread. So the holes don't make it light and airy. The holes just make it a little weird looking. So, and that can be avoided by turning this into a slightly more proper dough. But it doesn't need to be bone dry. Again, you want it to have some moisture to it because it's going to have to rise. It shouldn't have to fight that rise. Okay, this whole thing that you just saw me do has taken about maybe 5 minutes maximum. It really isn't that big of a deal. Okay, as soon as I'm through with this, I can go and either do more laundry, I can vacuum some floors, I can, just be a mom and a wife and somebody who is trying to help somebody, So in other words, don't think, oh, there goes my whole day. No. No excuse is a good excuse. Right, babe? Mm-hmm. All right, so now, see, it's holding onto itself pretty well. And again, I'm not trying to knead it in flour. I don't want to do that. I want it to have some level of moisture to it. So there we go. Now, a little bit of olive oil. Cover the top. This is basically going to give it some room to spread. Okay, get it up underneath there a little bit. Now I need the cellophane, which I think it is. Okay, this is easy. Watch this. Boom, I'm done. Hit the slider bit. There we go. Okay. All this does is keep some of the heat in so the yeast has something to work against. It has to work against several elements. One is the sugar and the other is the heat, so you can like a little dome of heat. Now that sits right back on the stove and you let it go. So that's the second step in the process, and the third step will be to lay out the flour, knead it until it's nice and full like a dough. I'm going to cut it into 3, let those rest for about 5 minutes and turn them into loaves. So when at that point, I'll see you again.